What's up, boys? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm on UFC 4 and we're going to see what a PFL season would look like with the top 10 UFC light heavyweights. How a PFL season works is we have 10 fighters per weight class. Each fighter fights twice in the regular season, with a win giving them 3 points, a draw 1 point, and a loss 0 points. They are also rewarded bonus points for winning fights inside the distance. A first round win is worth 3 extra points for a total of 6. A second round finish is worth 2 extra points, and a third round finish is worth 1 extra point. At the end of the regular season, the 4 fighters with the most points move on to the playoffs, where the championship fight is a 5-round fight and the winner is awarded $1 million. In real life, this division is an absolute mess. We have almost no ground game in the top 10. Of these fighters combined 214 victories, only 47 or 22% have been won by submission. And when we look at UFC victories only, that number goes down to 13. So you can take your gi off and put your rubber on for this one, because these guys are going to be banging it out today the old-fashioned way. How I schedule the regular season fights is I have a random generator wheel that has all 10 fighters' names on it. Starting with the top fighter at the moment, Jamal Hill, I'll take his name off the list, and whoever it lands on is who he will be fighting first. I then move down to the next highest ranked fighter and do the same. We'll repeat this process until we have 5 scheduled fights. And after those fights are done, we'll repeat this process for the second card with the new rankings while avoiding any repeat fights. So Jamal Hill will be fighting 5th ranked Wohovich. Yuri Prohaska is going up against the World Imperialism champ Aleksandar Rakic. 3rd ranked Magomed Ankalaev is taking on Anthony Smith. Alex Pereira is going to be tested on the ground against Nikita Krylov, who has the most submission victories between any of these fighters. And that leaves us with the 8th ranked Johnny Walker versus 10th ranked Volkan Uzimir. The AI will be controlling both fighters for all of these fights. I usually leave it on hard difficulty so the submission skills aren't overpowered, but there's not much to fear here, so I'm moving this one up to pro difficulty. Up first are 2 of the lowest ranked fighters on the first card, but I like it for both of them. They're both wild fighters that can move up quickly in the rankings with an early knockout. Johnny Walker is the tallest fighter in the top 10, but if you've seen Uzimir in any simulation video of mine, you would know that this man is a problem on the feet in this game. Uzi came out swinging as usual and connected with a spinning back fist. He followed that up by leaving himself open to a head kick, but who needs defense when you have non-stop offense? Uzi kept landing what seemed like big strikes on Johnny Walker, but it was never enough to stun him. Still, I think it's safe to say he won himself the first round. In the early minutes of the second, Johnny Walker started to smack around Uzi, but out of nowhere, Uzi drops Walker with a big overhand right. He lets him back up just to drop him again with a little 1-2. Uzi only goes to the mat if he's getting knocked out, so he backs off him, lets him recover just to send him into REM sleep. And with that second round knockout, he will be sitting pretty in first place with 5 points. Up next, we've got Ankalaev versus Smith. Anthony Smith is ranked 5 positions lower, but he was looking like the better fighter in the opening minute, and then the other 14 minutes happened.
Well, he can try to establish that jab. That one appeared to stun him. He didn't like that. The sound defensively blocks the shot. Well, he misses with the left punch.
In true Russian fashion, these two went the distance, and Magomed Ankalaev won by unanimous decision, giving him only 3 points and placing him in 2nd place for the time being. For our third fight, we have Alex Pereira versus Nikita Krylov. UFC 4 hasn't updated Alex to the light heavyweight division, so he is at a disadvantage fighting at 184 pounds, but I think his hands of Brazilian steel can make up for that. He had a rough opening to this fight. He turns around at the exact moment he's being head kicked, and he's lucky to be alive, but he responds with a solid flying knee, yet he almost gets knocked out again with another wide open kick. Alex switches things up and goes for a takedown, but glory to Ukraine, this man teleports back up just so he can let himself be taken down again for a guillotine attempt. Alex gets out of it, then Nikita tries the armbar, but Alex is a brown Rampage Jackson. We make it to a second round, and Alex finally gets something going for himself with a barrage of uppercuts, but later in the round, Nikita gets him back with another head kick. You'd really think a world-class kickboxer would know how to block those, but I guess not. Although of course he's coded to be relentless at takedowns anytime he gets in trouble. We make it to a third and final round, and to be honest, I think if Alex were 20 pounds heavier in this fight, this sequence would have been a knockout victory for him. Alex then starts showing off his glass jaw, and he is getting stunned left and right with some pretty basic shots. And with a minute and a half left in the fight, he gets stunned again. He dodges more of his stamina away, and he eats another head kick kick that knocks him out for good. That was a solid win for Nikita Krylov. It was definitely a little unfair for Alex considering the weight advantage, but he showed that he can at least hang around with these guys regardless of his handicap. Nikita Krylov gets himself 4 points with that third round knockout, and that puts him in between Uzi and Ankalaev. We are now down to the big dogs on the first card. This is a fight I would love to see actually happen. We've got Eryk versus Rakic, who are both very close in physical stats. These two opened up with some wild exchanges that Eryk kept coming out on top of. I'd say Eryk was having himself a 10-8 first round and approaching a knockout, but with 5 seconds left in the round, Rakic finally fights back with a stunning leg kick. Eryk was still hunting the big knockout in the second and succeeding, but Rakic is taking the Fiziev route of slowly chipping away at the legs, even if it means you have to take brain damage first. But he gets so invested in leg kicking, he goes for it while Eryk is right in his face. Rakic gets dropped and almost gets knocked out midway through the second. They're back on their feet with 30 seconds left in the round. Rakic connects with a big kick upstairs and he's swinging for a knockout of his own, but Yuri's head health looks like he just started the fight. Eryk drops him again in the third, but he doesn't follow him down. He instead goes for payback with the leg kicks. Eryk finally checks one of Rakic's leg kicks, so he backs off just for Rakic to check one of Yuri's leg kicks, which almost takes Eryk out of the fight, which is wild to say considering how Rakic's face looks right now. With about a minute left in the fight, Eryk drops Rakic again with a big knee, and I don't blame him for following him down to the ground. This is Yuri's fight to lose. They get back up with 20 seconds left in the fight, and Rakic is still swinging.
The finish could come at any time.
Eryk won this one in the third round, which gives him 4 points, but since it took him more time to do so, he is technically in third place behind Nikita Krylov, but he's not doing too bad for himself. UFC 4 fighters do not get much tougher than Rakic. And for our final fight of the first card, we have two former champs going head to head. Not too much happened in the first round of this one. Jamahal Hill won the round by wisely kicking from distance and not taking on much damage at all. Early in the second round, he landed a big overhand left that did almost nothing to Jan's head health, and Jan responded with a pretty basic front kick that left Hill stunned. So he tried sticking with that strategy, which was working until it didn't. Midway through the second, Hill caught a huge wave of momentum that started with the head kick. He then guided his face into a huge knee that had Jan on the ropes. Jan fought through it and managed to get up just to be dropped by a baby punch. I love it when they kicked a down opponent, but that also might have been a good time to try to win this fight. Later in the round, they both go for big kicks at the same time, but Jan is the one that connects. He drops Hill and follows up with some damage on the ground. And with a minute left in the second, no setup or anything, Jan just connects upstairs again and knocks the champ out cold with another head kick. That gives Jan 5 points. He's tied for first, but technically in second since Uzi knocked out Johnny Walker a minute 40 into the second round. And we are all set for the final fight matchups of the regular season using these updated rankings. Starting with Uzi, he'll be taking on the only other fighter with 5 points, Jan Wohovich, which will make it a lot easier for a lower ranked fighter to slip into the top 4. That means next up on the wheel is Nikita Krylov, who will be taking on Johnny Walker. Yuri Prohaska will be taking on another first card winner in Magomed Ankalaev. Jamahal Hill will be taking on Alex Pereira, which continues his bad luck of matchups throughout this. And that leaves us with two winning list fighters so far, Aleksandar Rakic versus Anthony Smith. First up on the second card will be two fighters with 0 points. They've got nothing to lose, and making it to a decision will automatically eliminate both of them. Smith peaked in the first minute of his last time out, but he was getting whooped in the opening minutes of this one, and Rakic had him stunned midway through the first. Smith was able to recover and stun him back with an elbow and uppercut. They made it to the second round. Both fighters looked like they wanted to win this one by knockout, but weren't sure how to make that happen. Finally, Rakic connects a shot and stuns Smith, and with 2 minutes and 6 seconds left in the second round, Rakic lands a combination and a head kick that knocks Smith unconscious and out of the playoff race. Meanwhile, Rakic still isn't out of it yet. That gives him a solid 5 points. That could land him a place in the playoffs as long as a few other fight outcomes and tiebreakers go his way. Up next is another duo with no points on the board, but a fight I would love to see take place on Stream East. These two were not shy with each other in the first round, which works out perfect for them because someone needs to go to sleep soon for someone to advance. He'll put a whole minute of the fight aside to take advantage of Pereira in the clinch, but with a minute left in the round, Alex almost gets a 6-point victory with a stunning right overhand and a head kick knockdown. They make it to a second round, and Alex lands another big series of shots that almost knocks Hill out. Alex is now stunning Hill with some pretty simple shots, and you can feel the knockout coming, but time is not on his side. So he lands a huge overhand right that drops Hill, but he will not go to sleep. It's looking like a Bill Cosby nightmare out there. He then drops him again with the right. He's flopping like a fish, but he's still breathing. They make it to a third and final round, and Pereira is able to finally knock him out with a right straight 45 seconds into the round. That third round knockout gives him 4 points. That technically has him in 6th place, since Nikita and Yuri have a better winning percentage, but if they were to both lose, Alex would jump both of them in the rankings since he had the quickest third round knockout between the three. So his chances are slim, but he's not out of it yet. For our third fight of the final card, we have Nikita Krylov with 4 points taking on Johnny Walker with 0 points. Nikita could use a safe victory. Walker should take his head off. Someone should really inform Nikita about this though, because he was not shying away from these close exchanges early on. He did slow things down with a standing guillotine, but right after that he drains his stamina and is almost knocked out with an overhand left. Walker doesn't want to touch the one guy in the division with ground game, so he lets him back up. They clinch and Walker again drops him with a right elbow as he's throwing a high kick. Walker risks it this time and follows him down to the mat. He gets full mount and swings away. He lands one clean shot after another, and he puts him to sleep 2 minutes and 14 seconds into the very first round. That just shook up the entire leaderboard. Johnny Walker is 1-1, but in first place with 6 points, and he has guaranteed himself a spot in the playoffs after being knocked out in the first fight of this video. Alex was looking to slip by with tiebreakers, but he and Nikita are officially eliminated. So the only fighters that have a chance at joining Walker in the playoffs are Uzi, Jan, Rakic, Yuri, and Goliath. These last two fights have major playoff implications, starting with Yuri versus Magomed. Both fighters are currently outside of the playoffs, but by any means necessary, whoever wins will make the playoffs, whoever loses will not. The first round of this one was pretty forgetful, but Yuri most likely won the round. In the opening seconds of the second round, Yuri tries to continue to punish him with his weirdness, but Goliath must have taken some steroids on the stool because he's looking more powerful than ever. He stuns and knocks down Yuri with his counter attack. The speed of his punches are so much faster, and he stuns Yuri again a minute later. Goliath continues to dominate the second round, and we are going into a third and final round tied up. Magomed cannot miss today. He stuns Yuri again after connecting with 3 shots in a row, and he'll happily take some Dagestani ground control. But it doesn't take Yuri long to get back up, but it doesn't take him long to go back down. Goliath drops him and connects again while he's falling. That was absolutely brutal, and it was a brutal schedule for Yuri. He was my favorite to win this coming into this, but the matchmaking got the best of him, and he is officially eliminated after going 1-1 with 4 points to his name. Meanwhile, Magomed secures himself a playoff spot after adding 4 points to his 3. He is in first place with 7. And our last fight of the regular season is Uzimir versus Wohovich. Both fighters are in good shape coming into this with 5 points. Whoever wins will be first place in the playoffs. Whoever loses may not make it due to tiebreakers with Rakic. In the opening seconds of this one, we get a sense of what's going to happen throughout this fight. They do not look like they want to go the distance. And it's Jan that lands the first big shot of the fight, but like I said earlier, Uzi's defense is non-stop offense. He catches Jan with a stunning shot soon after. He walks him down for more, but he accidentally swings at the body armor logo in the middle of the fight. So Jan stuns him with an uppercut after making that mistake. And that poor marketing decision lost him momentum in this one. Jan dropped him after a series of big punches. He follows his laid out body to the ground. He goes for the finish. He gets so close to it, but Uzi survives. We make it to a second round, and not much happens early on in the round. With a minute left in the round, Jan pisses off Uzi after landing 2 damaging dick kicks in a row. Uzi then goes for a big knee and a big right hand, but Jan catches him while he's leaning in and knocks him out with 49 seconds left in the round. With that victory, Jan is the second fighter to have a perfect regular season with 10 points, and in the first round of the playoffs, he'll be taking on none other than Volkan Oezdemir. Uzi beat Rakic in the tiebreakers after having a minute quicker of a knockout. On the other side of the bracket, we have Magomed Ankalaev taking on Johnny Walker. The Americans didn't do too well in this one. We went a solid 0-4, way to represent. And I feel like any of the fighters between 5 and 8 could have made the playoffs with just some different fight scheduling outcomes. And to be fair, if if Pereira was actually a light heavyweight in this game. It is now playoff time. The first round is still 3-minute fights and the scores go out the window. It's all about winning by any means necessary. We had a slow first round in the rematch. Uzi actually strayed away from the motto I've built for him of the best defense is more offense. He even checked a leg kick, which was a first for him, but I think Jan might have won the first round thanks to a big overhand right late in the round. A couple minutes into the second round and Uzi is landing some big strikes but not doing any damage to Jan, and Uzi is looking like a new man since he learned how to check a leg kick. He stunned Jan's leg by doing so, but he didn't protect the most important part of his body. Jan lands a flush head kick after Uzi was just staring at him. Jan is up 2 rounds entering the third and things are still looking good for him in this round. Jan keeps on dominating him and Uzi looks like he's fighting his kryptonite. Jan even starts to damage his leg, so Uzi's on pace to limp out of this cage one way or another. To make matters worse, Jan tosses him to the mat and burns a minute of valuable time. They get back up, but Jan is just tearing him apart in a couple different ways down low, but Uzi finally responds with a stunning head kick and he's fighting angry out there. With a minute left in the fight, Uzi stuns him and drops him, but following him to the mat is the last thing on his mind. 40 seconds left, they exchange kicks, then Uzi dodges and drops him again with the right straight. He backs off, Jan's wobbled, he checks the kick perfectly and... Uzi gets his revenge with a beautiful overhand right exactly when he needed it most. He was 28 seconds away from losing that fight by unanimous decision, but instead he'll be going into the finals after coming into this the lowest ranked fighter on the rankings. And he'll be taking on the winner of Ankalaev versus Walker. If Walker can pull this one off, that would mean we'd get another rematch in the playoffs where the first fight matchup of this video would also be the last. I don't think Ankalaev is up for that storyline, but it may not matter because Walker came out swinging and almost landed another first round knockout in the first 40 seconds of this one. Johnny kept walking Ankalaev down and landing more damage, but 30 seconds later Ankalaev woke up and stunned Walker back. He then goes for the takedown, but Walker is a 6'6" ninja. He spins out of it. Walker kept trying to be the big brown ninja he is, but Ankalaev put a stop to that. He's hurt bad. And after a slow start to this fight, Ankalaev did enough damage and had enough ground control time to take back the round for himself. Walker came out swinging early again in the second, but it seemed like every time he got something going for himself, Ankalaev just had an answer for him. He almost put him away in the first minute of the second, but Walker finally waistbanded the tent in his pants and calmed down. With 2 minutes left in the round, Ankalaev keeps improving right in front of our eyes. He dodged a couple of punches in a row and drops Walker again with a check hook. Walker's still standing and of course still swinging. He even lands a decent uppercut here and he keeps attacking him like he has a full bar of stamina, but sadly that was not the case. Ankalaev puts him away with a nice overhand left while dodging Walker's overhand left. That ass whipping he just put on Walker makes him 3-0 and will have him fighting in the finals against Volkan Uzimir. Their stats are pretty even outside of Ankalaev having a 2-inch height advantage. The other big difference is their homelands are polar opposites. Uzi opens this one with some clean kickboxing. He doesn't even try to dodge Ankalaev's punch here, so I thought his defense disappeared again. That is until he dodged 4 takedowns in a row. Ankalaev still lands some pretty solid shots at the end of the first that probably secured him the round, but these light heavyweights can barely go the distance for 3-round fights, let alone 5, so I don't think it'll matter too much in the long run. In the second round, Uzi winds up for a big spinning elbow, so this slimy bastard tries to play tackle football, but Uzi refuses to be taken down today. Later in the second, Uzi stuns Ankalaev with an uppercut, so he answers back with another failed takedown attempt. It doesn't seem like much damage is happening so far, but the amount of blood on their bodies is really saying otherwise. With 30 seconds left in the round, Ankalaev is back to dodging, but Uzi connects with his overhand that leaves Ankalaev falling face first into the mat like he's dying in a Broadway musical. Uzi just knocked a couple chromosomes out of him, but he refuses to follow him to the mat. I absolutely love it. I just can't get over how he fell. That was so dramatic for no reason, and Uzi just could not care less. He's just staring at his unconscious body. The fight should be over, but Uzi has a moral code to follow or something. I don't know. What is this game? And Uzi isn't even safe. He's got maybe a third of his stamina remaining. He's one bad sequence away from being flash KO'd. But not to worry. He'll be done with this fight when he feels like it. He's just toying with him and giving me golden knockdown animations. And there it is. Uzi drained his stamina and Ankalaev was inches away from knocking him out the same way he took out Eryk. And for a guy that has been trying to take him down this entire fight, I'm surprised he didn't follow up on that knockdown. Instead, that leads to Uzi stunning his body, but Ankalaev finally gets his takedown. He doesn't go for the submission, but he does enough to drain both of their stamina bars, and one good punch can take out either of these fighters. And right on cue, Ankalaev lands a couple good punches, and every one of them is stunning Uzi. But Uzi doesn't want a good punch, he wants a great punch. Ankalaev dodges a feint, and Uzi unleashes with a spinning back fist that knocks Ankalaev out cold. He could have won this fight 7 minutes ago, but the important thing to Uzi is that he has fun. Still, what a performance by Uzi. He came into this the lowest ranked fighter. He went 1-1 in the regular season, but his aggressive style managed to get him into the playoffs as a 4 seed, and he wins it all rightfully so. He's really a killer like this in real life too. He just constantly has to take on the best of the best in the division. He is the 9th ranked contender in the division. He's got a fight on September 2nd, and don't take my word for it, but go ahead and bet your life savings on this man winning by knockout. But yeah, that'll do it. Thank you guys for watching. If you're interested in watching the PFL, feel free to check out the link in my bio. I believe they're in the playoffs right now. Let me know what weight division you'd like to see next. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next one.